Right, depending on how you look at yesterday's news about Steph Curry, it could be good or it could be bad. After getting his foot rolled on in the game versus Boston on Wednesday, an MRI showed no structural damage or serious injury. So that's the good part. The not so good part is that Curry is expected to miss the rest of the regular season with a foot sprain. The hope is that he'll be able to return by the start of the Western Conference playoffs. That, according to Woj and Ramona Shelburne. Perk is here with us now, and I want to talk about your glasses, because are those prescription?
No, they're not. It's called fashion, Christine.
It's just the swag.
Fashion.
I just made sure that's what you were bringing with us today.
Yeah.
Okay, okay, Perk. So Steph, Clay, and Draymond have only played 2 games together this season, and now this is happening. So are the Warriors' titles hopes over?
Hell yeah, they over. And look, it's not because of the lack of playing time that Steph, Clay, and Draymond has had this season. Look, these guys have played together their entire career. They know how to find the chemistry. It's about the others. And when you saw Steve Kerr get mad the other night at Marcus Smart, yes, it was about protecting Steph Curry, but it was about him having 12 games left in the season and him trying to find his rotations, trying to find the continuity, trying to find the chemistry. Remember, Clay got back, and I said this, it was going to be guys that were going to have to play different roles. Now you have to find out where you're going to play Jordan Poole, how you going to play Kuminga, how is Draymond and Kuminga going to play with one another. And if you're a head coach, when you get to this period of time where it matters the most, going into the home stretch, the last part of the season, you want to have guys knowing their roles and knowing their place. And that's why I say that with Steph Curry being injured and not coming back into the playoffs, that yes, I strongly believe that the Warrior title hopes are done for this season, period.
I disagree with that. I disagree that it's done. I will concede that it's a bit tougher because the likelihood is that they're not going to be a 2 seed, which means in order for them to get out of the West, they're going to have not 1 but 2 series where they're the road team. They're not the home team in a potential Game 7, whether it be against Memphis, whether it be against Phoenix. I totally get all of that. But when I think about the Golden State Warriors, I'm not going to summarily dismiss the experience. And I'm going to tell you something right now. Clay coming back compromised them to some degree because they didn't look as good as they looked at times when he was out, because you're trying to fit him back to the equation and get him going. And so he's had games where he's exploded, and then there were other games where he just seemed a bit distant and a bit out of it, like when we were at the Lakers game, when the NBA Countdown team was at the Lakers game that Saturday night when LeBron dropped 56. So it's stuff like that. He only scored like 7 points that game or something along those lines. So I understand that, but that was without the services of Draymond Green. I think Draymond Green is pivotal to their success. I think that he's a point forward and an orchestrator on the offensive side of the ball. Defensively, he's definitely their captain. He talks on defense. He holds individuals accountable, and I think they'll be better exponentially defensively. Here's where it gets interesting for me, KP. Have you seen Jordan Poole lately? He's averaging 17 on the season. Last 8 games, he scored a minimum of 20 points, dropped about 32 against Denver, had 29 the other night against Boston. With Steph Curry being out, the style of play that Jordan Poole plays, how he pulls the trigger quick, and he doesn't need a lot of space in order to get off that shot or whatever. I think he's going to flourish. He's going to step in and play the role that Steph Curry usually plays. I think you're going to see offensive explosions from Jordan Poole in the days to come. Now, how that's going to work once Steph Curry gets back is why I hear what you're saying. All I'm saying is I can't rule it out, because what if they're comfortable playing with one another enough where when Steph comes back, the shot's going to still be there. Jordan Poole has elevated his level of play. Clay is going to be more of a focal point of the offense with Steph out as well, and Draymond is back healthy. I don't think you can look at the Warriors and say their title hopes are over. It might be, but it might not be. This could potentially work to their advantage is all I'm saying.
Yeah, but Stephen A., listen, and I'm not knocking Jordan Poole, but I want you to realize, and you know this, in the playoffs comes adjustments, right? Just say hypothetically that Steph Curry is not back. no, Jordan Poole get a lot of his success based off the attention that Steph Curry's put on the defense. When it's playoff time, I need to see if he could still be that guy when it's an hour scouting report that's being put on him. No. See, it's a difference. See, when you in that film room, that stack of papers get this thick on you. That stack of papers... Yeah.
But we're making two separate points. Like, I'm not disagreeing with that. That's totally accurate. Okay. I totally get that. What I'm saying to you is, first of all, we're assuming Steph Curry's going to be back. We're making it because you're right. The title hopes are gone if Steph Curry can't play. We're not talking about the Warriors as title as champions if Steph Curry can't play. We're assuming he needs to be out for the rest of the regular season so he can be ready for the playoffs. So if Curry is ready for the playoffs because there's no sustainable injury to it, this injury he incurred, then with this foot sprain, then we're talking about Steph Curry being fresh because he's got some rest on the rest of his legs, mind you. Okay, his legs are rested. We're talking about him being fresh because the concern we had about him is that he was losing some of the legs because of the load that he had to carry, particularly with Klay out the first part of the season, Draymond out the second part of the season. He comes back, Klay and Draymond is in the mix, and then you have Jordan Poole, who's elevated his level of play, but he's not the number one option. I think this could end up working wonders for the Golden State Warriors.
But Stephen A., to your point, you are right. You're hitting a lot of points, but let's just see when Steph comes back. Because let me remind you, right, he has a history of ankle problems. And now he's dealing with this. So we just don't know. Again, we don't know. But I'm looking at it right now in the way teams are playing across the league. And I'm looking at the Western Conference, what the Mavericks are doing, what Memphis is doing, and what Denver is doing. And I just think that, and Draymond said it himself, health is everything. So I just want to leave it at that. I'm going to leave it at that.
But all I'm saying is when we make our predictions and our prognostications, we shove injuries aside because that's a given. We know if they're not healthy, it's not a discussion. When I'm talking about if Steph comes back healthy, I'm not talking about what you're going to do without Steph. Because without Steph, we ain't talking about them as winning the title out west. But with Steph back, fresh legs, and the rest of the dudes ready to go, now we're talking a different story is all I'm saying.
Kirk, you got anything?
No, he's good. He's good.
All right.
He's good. He's good.
Kirk, don't
he's
go
looking
anywhere.
good, too, and he's feeling good. He's looking good and feeling
Exactly.
good. He in 75-degree weather. Don't feel sorry for him. He's in 75-degree weather, man. Don't feel sorry for him.
All right, Kirk, don't go anywhere.
Sun shining in the back.
Mayfield has made it clear that he wants out as the favorite, while Stanford is looking to become the first team since UConn from 2013 to 2016 to win consecutive national championships. And, of course, there's nobody better to break down the women's NCAA tournament than NCAA champion Rebecca Lobo. Rebecca, thanks so much for joining us. And, we talked earlier this week, just looking at the bracket and the Greensboro region specifically, it's hard not to look forward to Aaliyah Boston facing Caitlin Clark potentially. How excited are you for that potential matchup?
Yeah, I don't think Iowa State likes that conversation very much as the 3 seed in that region. But I think any women's basketball fan would love a chance to see Aaliyah Boston and Caitlin Clark on the floor together. They've been two of the most exciting players to watch this season in terms of their production. Aaliyah Boston is the favorite for National Player of the Year. What she does defensively is so impactful on a team that leads the nation in block shots per game. And then you've got Caitlin Clark, who is the most exciting offensive player in the country. Sue Bird said that a season ago when Caitlin Clark was just a freshman. And when we haven't seen a player come down and hit bombs like she has consistently ever in the women's game, she is our Steph Curry. And it's the reason she's so exciting. So that potential matchup certainly has people excited if they're not one of the other teams in that Greensboro region.
Well, Rebecca, first of all, it's lovely seeing you. It's lovely having you on the show. I have not filled out my bracket yet, Rebecca, but I'm going to get to it, okay? I'm going to get to it. I got to ask you this question. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? I want to make sure. She cannot hear me.
I hear somebody yelling at me, but I can't hear exactly what you're saying, Stephen A.
Okay, I'm going to try. I'm going to raise my voice, okay? UConn is a number 2 seed. Number 2 seed. I'm not accustomed to seeing UConn as a number 2 seed, okay? What's going on? I mean, there's not really cause for pause or anything to panic about. But how are you feeling about UConn's chances this year? She can't hear me.
I don't think Can you hear me, Rebecca?
UConn as a 2 seed, I mean, UConn deserves a 2 seed because of how they played this year. I don't think anybody questions the fact that they were a 2 and not a 1. However, the fact that they are playing the way they are in the last couple weeks of this season, the fact that they are in the Bridgeport region, which of course is just a short drive from the Storrs campus, it's got to be a tough pill to swallow for NC State as their #1 in that region. Connecticut is certainly a team that can win the national championship this year. This is a team that is playing really good basketball. For most of the season, they had players in and out with injury. For much of the season, they only had 6 or 7 healthy players available to them. Paige Beckers wasn't one of them. For a lot of it, AZ Fudd wasn't one of those players who was available. Those are 2 pieces who are really important to the success of this Connecticut team. So now as we're going into the tournament and we're seeing Paige Beckers come back, as we see AZ Fudd healthy, as we've seen a rotation now that has 9 players who can come in and out, players who have all had an opportunity to start as the season's gone on because of those other injuries. This is a very, very dangerous team and a very dangerous team who doesn't have to get on an airplane before the Final Four.
We are just minutes away from tip-off. Stay tuned for our coverage on ESPN and ESPN2. Rebecca Lobo will be on the call. Thanks so much, Rebecca, for joining us. We got some more to get to with